Too great an insult to Putin, Russia's invincible missile was defeated at the hands of the Ukrainians. CNN has a report titled, Ukraine says it used US-made Patriot system to intercept Russian hypersonic missile, meaning Ukraine says it used US-made Patriot system to intercept supersonic missile. Bar of Russia. Ukraine said it used the US-made Patriot air defense system for the first time to intercept a Russian hypersonic missile. Mykola Oshchuk, commander of the Ukrainian Air Force, said on Telegram on Saturday, "Yes, we have intercepted Putin's invincible Kinzhal." He wrote the above with the word Patriot and an emoji, and the Ukrainian flag. The Kh-47 Kinzhal is a hypersonic ballistic missile. Ukraine has received at least 2 Patriot systems, one from the United States and one from Germany, to strengthen its air defenses, which were previously unable to intercept modern Russian missiles such as the Kinzhal. General Olshchuk said the interception occurred during the night attack on May 4 to 5 in the skies over Kiev area. He said the Kinzhal missile was launched by a MiG-31K aircraft from Russian territory. Yuri Ianat, a spokesman for the Air Force Command, told Ukrainian television on Saturday, "Yes, we have anti-ballistic missile weapons." At first, no one knew if the Patriot could work against ballistic missiles. Yes, it can. It's good that we have such a weapon. But unfortunately there aren't many, Ianat added. Last month, Defense Minister Alexei Reznikov said that Patriots would be crucial in protecting Ukrainian infrastructure against ballistic missiles. The construction of a multi-level air and missile defense system as soon as possible is our priority, he said. This is to protect our peaceful cities, critical infrastructure, and our people at the rear and on the front lines. Patriot systems create a capability that has never existed before, to defeat ballistic targets. 2. Denmark, Germany send 80 Leopard I tanks to Ukraine this month. Germany and Denmark plan to deliver 80 Leopard I battle tanks to Ukraine this May. The acting Minister of Defense of Denmark, Troels Lund Poulsen, said as above. The delivery, the first batch is going to be done now, and it will be huge, Mr. Poulsen said. He noted that all the tanks delivered will be ready for use by the Ukrainian defenders by June 1. The acting Defense Minister of Denmark said, "The Leopard I tank has really good transport and firepower." The Danish Leopard I tank was retired in 2005 and replaced by the more modern Leopard 2. Since then, they have been stored in hangars. In addition to tanks, spare parts and ammunition will also be delivered, Mr. Poulsen said. Ukrainian tank crews have been trained in these vehicles abroad so that they can operate them immediately. 3. The Ukrainian army said that the fierce fighting in Bakhmut continued amid the low morale of the Russian army. Fierce fighting in the devastated eastern city of Bakhmut continued on Saturday, Colonel Serhiy Cherevatiy, spokesman for Ukraine's Eastern Military Command, said in a televised news conference. On the morning of Sunday, May 7. He called Wagner chief Yevgeny Prigozhin's criticism of ammunition shortages a complete hoax. "We control part of the city. Nothing has changed there, the battle for positions continues. The enemy has not achieved any major breakthrough," Colonel Serhiy Cherevatiy said. He refuted Prigozhin's claims about dwindling ammunition stockpiles, and asserted that Russian forces had fired thousands of rounds along the front lines in the past 24 hours. Now they are firing more than 20,000 rounds a day. That's why Prigozhin's comment about the shelling famine is a complete hoax, he said. On Friday, Prigozhin said he would withdraw from Bakhmut on May 10. In an obscene tone, he blamed Russia's military leadership for tens of thousands of Wagner's casualties, specifically calling attention to what he described as a lack of ammunition in the army. Russia. Boss Wagner says he only has 30% of the supplies he needs in the eastern city. Colonel Serhiy Cherevatiy commented that Prigozhin's description of the ammunition shortage of the Russian army is incorrect because Russia is firing more than 20,000 rounds a day. However, it is impossible to know exactly how the distribution of shells to the Russian units participating in the battle in the city of Bakhmut took place. 4. Chechen leader invites Wagner warriors to join his forces in Bakhmut. Ramzan Kadyrov, the notorious Chechen leader and ally of Russian President Vladimir Putin, has invited fighters from Wagner private military company to join the forces of his Akhmet brigade in Bakhmut. Wagner has very good, brave, necessary people, very necessary for us, because they know the area, Kadyrov said in a video message on Saturday. If you stay with us, I promise you that we will give you more, better conditions than what you have today. We will try to do the best for you. Kadyrov also posted a photo of his letter to Putin about removing Akhmet units from other directions in order to hand over Wagner's positions in Bakhmut. The head of Wagner, Yevgeny Prigozhin, announced that he would hand over the positions in Bakhmut to the Chechen leader on May 10. He cited a lack of ammunition supplies that Prigozhin blamed on the military commander of Russia. The Chechen leader said online Friday that he would be happy to take over the positions of brother Prigozhin if Wagner decides to leave Bakhmut, and he reiterated that sentiment in another post on Thursday. 7. Kadyrov's sizable paramilitary force, while officially part of the Russian security structure, has personal allegiance to him. They have been accused by international and independent observers of serious human rights violations. Kadyrov units are often assigned to military police duties and lack combat capabilities. In this role, they were accused of mistreating Russian soldiers, looting and raping Ukrainian women in the occupied territories. Commentators argue that because of their inability to effectively fight, the Russian Defense Ministry did not give them any missions in the first place on key battlefields such as in the city of Bakhmut. What Kadyrov called the Akhmet Brigade probably didn't last long after being thrown into the Bakhmut battlefield. 5. Ukraine's claim of shooting down a hypersonic missile is a slap in the face for Russia. CNN has a report titled, Analysis, Ukraine's claim that it shot down a hypersonic missile casts doubt on Russia's arsenal of Russia. Ukraine's assertion that an American Patriot defense system brought down one of Russia's most advanced ballistic missiles is a remarkable moment in the conflict, now in its 15th month. Russian President Vladimir Putin and the Russian military have hailed the Kinzhal, or Kh-47, as an example of Russia's modernized missile arsenal, saying its supersonic speed makes it extremely difficult to intercept. Putin called the Kinzhal an invincible missile. The missile travels at 10 times the speed of sound and has a range of about 2,000 kilometers, so it can be fired from a location far from the battlefield. Putin has said that these weapons can surpass all existing and future anti-aircraft and anti-missile defense systems. Several Kinzhal missiles were launched at Ukrainian targets in March, but it is not clear what damage they caused or whether they hit their targets. Analysts have questioned Kinzhal's ability in the final stages of flight, suggesting it could be either immobile or fast when approaching a target. In April, the Ukrainian Defense Ministry said that the Patriot systems had arrived from the US, Germany and the Netherlands. The addition of Patriot batteries is a welcome thing for Ukraine, which has repeatedly requested air defense capabilities. But experts warn these systems won't be a game changer overnight, given the significant logistical and training requirements that come with them. If one of the new Patriot systems has now destroyed the Kh-47, as the Ukrainians say, it raises questions about the capabilities of one of Russia's new generation weapons. Ukrainian Air Force spokesman Yuri Inhat said on Saturday that the Russians are saying that the Patriot is an obsolete American weapon and that the Russian weapon is the best in the world. Well, it has been confirmed that it is effective even against hypersonic missiles, Inhat said, adding that intercepting Kinzhal was a slap in the face to Russia. 6. Moscow blames Kyiv and Western countries for military blogger bombing without providing evidence. A spokesman for the Russian Foreign Ministry blamed Ukraine, the United States and the United Kingdom for the car bombing of military blogger Zahar Prilpin in the city of Nizhny Novgorod on Saturday. The Russian Foreign Ministry did not provide any evidence to support its allegations. During a press conference at the Kyiv Press Center on the morning of Sunday, May 7, the spokesman for the intelligence service of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine, Andriy Yusov, denied the accusations by the Russian Foreign Ministry and noted that the spokesman Russia's Foreign Ministry Maria Zakharova made the accusations so quickly that it seemed like she knew the attack was going to happen. Throughout its history, Russia, and the Soviet Union before it, has used false flag operations. For example, in 1999, just a few months before Putin was elected president for the first time, Russia suffered a wave of apartment bombings that killed more than 300 people. Prime Minister Putin then cited the bombings to justify launching the Second Chechen War. His hard line won him the presidency, but suspicions remain about who is really behind the bombings. Russia has also blamed Ukraine for the death of another Russian military blogger in an attack last month at a cafe in St. Petersburg. Kyiv has also previously denied any involvement. Russia's investigative committee called the latest incident an act of terrorism and said it plans to conduct an expedited investigation into the blast. The commission also reported that in a swift operation, the Russian Federal Security Service, or FSB for short, immediately arrested a suspect in the car bombing, and stated that during his interrogation, he also quickly bowed his head to plead guilty, that he acted on the instructions of the Ukrainian Special Services. The suspect placed an explosive device on the road along the route of Zahar Prilpin's vehicle from which he departed from afar. He then fled the scene, but was apprehended by law enforcement officers as he left the forest for another settlement. The commission has released what it claims is a video of the suspect's confession, but it is unclear under what circumstances he was interviewed and whether he was raped in the video. The Kremlin-friendly Russian newspaper Izvestia reported that Prilpin had earlier surgery on Saturday and is now in hospital in a stable condition. His driver was killed in the explosion. The UK's Foreign Office declined to comment when contacted by CNN. The Pentagon did not immediately respond to a request for comment. The Nizhny Novgorod region is located east of Moscow on the Volga River. 7. Recent explosions call attention to the unique role of Russian extremist military bloggers. State media reported a car explosion injured a Russian military blogger and killed his driver on Saturday. It marked the second recent explosion involving one of Russia's nationalist bloggers, drawing more attention to their role in Moscow's propaganda machine. The blogger injured on Saturday was Zahar Prilpin, a former member of the State Duma whose Telegram channel has more than 300,000 subscribers. Last month, another military blogger, Vladlen Tatarsky, was killed in an explosion at a cafe in St. Petersburg. Bloggers like Prilpin and Tatarsky are just two examples of prominent voices in the dark world of Russian bloggers. Unlike Russian state media, many of the most influential military bloggers have not hesitated to criticize Moscow for its defeats on the battlefield. That includes the retreat from Kharkiv in eastern Ukraine, which Prilpin called a disaster, in a commentary last September. More recently, bloggers have criticized the stalled and protracted battle for Bakhmut. Such comments are particularly rare since Russia shut down any remaining independent media shortly after its invasion of Ukraine in February 2022. Kremlin's pro-communist commentators, who are sometimes referred to as voenkory or war correspondent, filled this information gap. Military bloggers in Russia today offer a very vague but nonetheless a service. They're really the only ones watching what's happening on the front lines, Candice Rondo, director of the Future Frontlines program at the New America Foundation, told CNN. Many of the bloggers have extensive sources in the military, the Wagner mercenary group, or among pro-Russian separatists in eastern Ukraine, which gives them access to information that media outlets don't have access to. Official media cannot match. Obviously, they have a very biased view of the war. But they are very important for the Russians and for the world to understand what is happening, at least on one side of the stream, said Rondo. 8. Boss Wagner said he would transfer positions in Bakhmut to the forces of the Chechen leader. The head of the private Russian military company Wagner, Yevgeny Prigozhin, announced he would hand over the positions in Bakhmut to the forces of Chechen leader Ramzan Kadyrov on May 10. I thank Ramzan Akhmatovich for agreeing to take our position in Bakhmut and most likely have the opportunity to obtain everything needed and all the necessary resources. I contacted his rep to start relocating immediately, so that on May 10, at midnight, exactly when we calculated we would have used up our full potential. Our comrades will take our place and continue the attack on Bakhmut, Prigozhin said on Telegram on Saturday. It is not clear how serious Prigozhin is. He often spoke sarcastically about the transfer to Kadyrov. Notorious Chechen leader Ramzan Kadyrov is an ally of Russian President Vladimir Putin and leads sizable paramilitary forces. These forces, while officially part of the Russian security structure, are credited with personal loyalty to him. Ramzan Kadyrov has been accused by international and independent observers of serious human rights violations. His father, Akhmad Kadyrov, was killed by Russian agents on May 9, 2004 during the Victory Day March, on Putin's orders. Ramzan Kadyrov was not at all vague about it, but flew to Moscow, promising allegiance to Putin to save his life. The Chechen leader, not giving up any chance to prove his loyalty to Putin, said online Friday that he would be happy to take over Prigozhin's brother positions if Wagner decided to leave Bakhmut, and he reiterated that statement in another post on Saturday. The warriors are on alert, we are just waiting for orders, Kadyrov said in a video message. We have already begun to develop our strategy of action in this area together with the Russian Defense Ministry, taking into account the enemy's tactics and the resources we have. And believe me, the tactics will bring positive results. What did Prigozhin say about the withdrawal? Prigozhin said on Friday that Wagner would leave the besieged city of Bakhmut in eastern Ukraine, citing a lack of ammunition supplies that Prigozhin blamed on the Russian military commander. Ukraine said earlier on Saturday that the Russian military had failed to make any breakthroughs in Bakhmut, denying Prigozhin's claim of lack of ammunition was a hoax and merely an excuse to withdraw their troops when they foresee the possibility of annihilation. 9. In the midst of a feud with Wagner, the Russian defense minister inspected the army and promised military supplies. The Russian military said that Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu inspected troops and military equipment in Russia's southern military district on Friday, amid a public feud with the head of a private military company. Wagner Colonel. The statement said Shoigu had instructed special control over matters of the continuous and rhythmic supply to groups of troops in special military operations areas of all necessary weapons and military equipment. The Deputy Defense Minister, Senior Lieutenant General Kuzmenkov, who is responsible for the material and technical support of the Russian armed forces, presented to Army General Sergei Shoigu a batch of modern tanks, the Defense Ministry said, armored fighting vehicles, special equipment and motor vehicles are supplied by enterprises of the military-industrial complex for the supply of Russian military groups. Shoigu's visit came after a series of angry statements by Wagner chief Yevgeny Prigozhin, who directly accused Shoigu and the Russian military leadership of being responsible for tens of thousands of Wagner casualties due to lack of ammunition supplies. 10. Russia's foreign minister says drone attack was a hostile act. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said on Friday that Wednesday's drone strike on the Kremlin was a hostile act and that his government would respond with concrete actions. Body. It was clearly an act of hostility, Lavrov told a news conference in India. We will not respond by talking about whether it was an attack, but we will respond with concrete actions. We were very patient. On Wednesday, the Russian government announced that 2 drones had attempted to attack the Kremlin. Video of the attack first appeared in the early hours of Wednesday on Russian social networks. The Kremlin reacted slowly, eventually issuing a statement calling it a planned terrorist attack, a deliberate attempt by Ukraine to assassinate Russian President Vladimir Putin, but failed to do so. Provide evidence. On Thursday, Russia also claimed that the United States was certainly behind the incident. Both allegations were strongly denied by Kyiv and Washington. Relations between the United States and Russia are at their lowest point since the Cold War, but after Wednesday's drone attack, Moscow dramatically changed its attitude, bringing relations down even lower. 11. Nuclear rocket launcher crashes into roadside while driving to parade. Newsweek ran an article titled "Nuclear Missile Launcher Crashes in Russia While Driving Towards Parade," which translates to "Nuclear Rocket Launcher Crashes into a Roadside in Russia While Driving to a Parade." According to local media, a nuclear missile launcher crashed into a road safety fence in St. Petersburg, on his way to rehearsal for a military parade on Thursday. The Iskander tactical missile system crashed while it was being transported to the city center for rehearsal events ahead of Russia's annual Victory Day on May 9, the anniversary of its defeat. Defeat of Nazi Germany in World War II, Russian news agency Fontanka reported. The Iskander-M is a mobile guided missile system capable of carrying nuclear weapons, replacing the SS-23 Spider. Fontanka, a news agency based in St. Petersburg, released 2 videos showing the missile system on the side of the highway, next to a fence. An Iskander crashed into a road safety fence, the news agency said in a post on its Telegram channel. It looks like today's marching rehearsal is in danger of going without it. Rehearsal events dedicated to Victory Day took place in the heart of St. Petersburg from 2 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. local time on Thursdays. Local government in St. Petersburg said that security measures in the city on Victory Day will be much tighter than in previous years. Military parades to mark the day have been cancelled in more than 20 cities across the country, as Russia prepares for Ukraine's upcoming counteroffensive. Officials in several cities, including Kaluga, Ryazan, Oryol, Saratov, Lipetsk, Yelets and Tyumen, cited security concerns when announcing that the parades would be cancelled. The country's biggest event for Victory Day usually takes place on Red Square in Moscow, which includes a military parade and display of Russian military equipment. This year, a parade will still be held at Red Square, but the traditional Immortal Regiment's live parade has been cancelled due to security concerns. On Wednesday, the Russian government accused Ukraine of carrying out a planned act of terror and plotting to kill President Vladimir Putin, saying 2 Ukrainian drones had crashed into his home. This leader at the Kremlin Palace. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has denied any involvement, saying his country does not possess weapons of such offensive capabilities. The Institute for the Study of War, a US-based think tank, said the attack was likely orchestrated by the Kremlin to justify efforts to mobilize troops for future war. While others, including former Russian diplomat Boris Bondarev, say the theory doesn't hold up given the level of humiliation for Putin this incident has brought.